When you're a teenager, you're usually worried about your clothes, your crush, maybe a pimple on your face. But Laura Bratton, today's guest, she was facing something far more serious. She was told she was going blind. Yes, she struggled, she even spiraled. But what's remarkable is how she found her way back to strength, to purpose, and even to joy. And here's my promise to you, at some point in your life, if it hasn't happened already, you're gonna face a major challenge like Laura, a major loss, some massive adversity. Maybe you're in that right now. This episode is gonna prepare you for that moment and show you how you can move through it with resilience and even joy, because you can. If you just love learning how to feel your best, even when life gets hard, hit that subscribe button, because we talk about this every single week. Welcome to Good Mood Revolution. Laura, it is so great to have you here on Good Mood Revolution. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
You know, here's the thing, and you and I were talking about this before we got on. We are all going to have to experience loss and change. The person listening to this episode is going to have to experience loss and change. And you are a testament of how we can do that joyfully. So you lost your vision at a young age, but you were born with it. Can you take us back to that moment as a child when you were told you were going to lose your vision?
Yeah, so there's two distinct parts to that moment. The first part was when I was 9, I vividly remember, I can still see it and feel that moment in my mind's eye of sitting in the ophthalmology office. It was mid-June. My parents just thought, oh, we'll make a regular appointment just to go get her checkup, just normal checkup. And I remember sitting in the huge, big black chair, in the room. I'd already read the Big E, all the letters on the chart in front of me. My eyes were dilated, and I was, maybe going to get a cute pair of glasses. And I just remember the doctor rolling back in his chair, and he looked away from me and looked directly at my mom and just said, "There is a major problem going on. I've got to refer her to a retina specialist." And my mom's immediate reaction was, okay, we'll take care of that in a couple months, maybe during Christmas break, since we're getting ready to start a new school year. And the doctor just got very, very serious, and just, I could feel the concern in his voice. And he just said, "No, I will make the referral and you'll go this afternoon. This is something major that we have to address and figure out what's going on." So that was the first moment for me as a 9-year-old sitting in that chair. I could hear his words, but I could not comprehend his words. Cognitively, emotionally, I hadn't experienced much vision loss at that point. So I could feel the devastation. I could feel that it was something very, very serious. But in my 9-year-old mind, I was still dancing, playing basketball, all the normal activities that I was doing. So that was one major moment that obviously was incredibly traumatic. When it actually became real was fast forward about 4 or 5 years later. I'm in middle school. I'm sitting in geography class, and the teacher said, pull out your notebook and copy down the notes on the board. So like I've done my whole elementary, middle school life, I pulled out my notebook, grabbed my pen, glanced up at the board, and all I could see was like black blobs. It almost looked like the pen had just exploded on the whiteboard. It wasn't necessarily shadows, but it wasn't distinct letters either. So I looked down in my notebook, said, okay, that's kind of weird. Looked back up at the board, the exact same thing. Then I looked to my left, to my right. Everyone was copying down notes. I didn't know they were copying down notes, but they were writing like normal. So I just leaned over and asked my neighbor, how are you copying down the notes? That there's just like black marks on the board. The teacher has not put the notes up on the board yet. And she just leaned over to me and said, totally calm, Laura, the print is perfect. What are you talking about? The notes are up there and it's normal. That was the moment that I literally just dropped my pen on my notebook, sat back in my chair, and went back to that 9-year-old girl sitting in the doctor's office in ophthalmology. That's when the reality physically and emotionally became real. I was losing a significant amount of sight, and it was getting ready to impact every part of my life. As I couldn't read the print on the board, it was also going to impact everything I did and had to relearn a way of living.
Were you ever angry with God or the universe? Did you ever say, why me?
So it wasn't why me, it was denial. And that denial looked like, oh, this isn't going to last long. I'll get my vision back really soon. This is not permanent. And then once that denial transformed into I can't. So it wasn't the why me, it was the I can't, this is too hard. Universe, God, world, parents, brother, anyone who listened, I would cry it, scream it, pray it. That was my mantra. I can't. This is too hard. I don't want to do this. I can't. So it was I don't have the strength rather than the why me.
Wow. So that's totally understandable. I mean, when I was in middle school, I just loved playing sports.
Right.
I'm riding my bike. I'm concerned about the pimple on my face. And if I said the wrong thing in front of the girl I have a crush on,
right.
I'm not concerned that I'm never going to be able to see again.
Right.
And
100%.
how will I navigate my life? And it just seems so unfair.
Yes.
And as a child, it must have just felt so unfair. All your friends, everybody you've known, and it's not like you were born without it. So you had it. You had perfect vision, and you were dancing, and you were in sports, and some of these things it felt like were being taken away from you.
Yes, 100% were being taken away, and that was the hardest part in that 9th grade that I had to give up dance. I mean, I was dancing 3 times for 2 hours a week. I mean, that was a significant part of my life. So incredibly active, and I had to give that up. That was the hardest part. Visually, obviously, you have a spot, or you can focus on something as you're dancing, moving to stabilize you. And we do it and don't realize we're doing it. Try doing that with closing your eyes. And
I absolutely. I try to stand on one foot while closing my eyes.
Right.
It's not an easy thing to do.
Right. So to give that up as a teenager was
as a child, especially when there's this huge part of your identity there. And so, for the person listening, this is why I was so excited to talk with you, because for the person listening, and for me, and for anyone who's a human, we're all going to have to deal with loss and change.
Yes.
We're going to have to deal with losing something that we really value, that we really love. It's just inevitable. It's a guarantee. A guarantee in life is that we're going to have to give up things that we truly love.
Yes.
And you are someone who has navigated that, who's come to the other side, and who has found tools to help people deal with loss and change. So I want to get into what were some of the tools, what were some of the ahas that you had that when you started to finally get into acceptance, first there's denial, and then there's I can't. And then what was the transition to, okay, I can?
So it was not one major moment that I went from, I just woke up one day and said, okay, I can, it's all good, I'll just move forward. It wasn't just a major moment that it all changed. It was a slow transition of moment to moment, day by day, slowly moving, gradually moving from I can't to I can. And the reason that I was able to do that was because of the support around me. So a very practical example is my parents and my brother, they continue to treat me as their child and their sister, just like they did when I had full sight. They didn't pity me. They didn't say, well, you can't reach your goals and dreams, like you're going to do nothing in life. Their ability to hold the space for me while I was still screaming, I can't do this, I can't do this. And they didn't believe that. That wasn't their mindset. Their mindset was, you're our child, now you just can't see as well. We'll figure out a way to adapt. And what they would tell me, both my parents and my brother, every single day was, we don't know the future. We don't know how all this is going to work out. But today, we'll figure out today. We'll figure out how to get from 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock. So that transition of I can't to I can slowly began to happen as I realized, okay, I don't believe I have the strength, but the people, the teachers, the community around me, that's weird. They think I can. So I slowly began to believe, okay, trust their belief. If they think that I can, maybe I can. And once I had that solid foundation over time, that's when then I started to believe, again, in small segments, okay, I don't know how this is all going to work out. I have no idea how I'm going to make it in college, but I know all I have to do today is figure out which colleges I want to apply to. Again, it was not one major moment. It was that slow transition of the foundation around me gave me the ability to turn the I can't slowly into I can.
So it sounds like that's a big key for success for someone who's navigating loss and change.
Yes.
Is to have a support network around us that we can lean on, that sees a greater potential in us than maybe we see in the moment.
Yes, 100%. And that's what I talk about so much with the grit is before we have the grit, it's those around us having the grit. And grit meaning that belief, that trust, that courage that we can keep going. And the grit can look like so many different forms. It can look like family, friends, teachers supporting us. It can look like just nature, just the fact that the sun came up today and I can just be outside where nature is still nature, even with all my change, use that as my strength. So whatever it might be, connecting, with pets, different animals that give us that unconditional love, that connection. So that grit can look totally different. It's just in my experience and the people that I work with, we need others to hold that grit when we don't have it for ourselves, before we can have it for ourselves.
Yeah. And for the person listening and for me, we don't think it's going to happen to us.
Right.
But here's a guarantee. Everyone is going to lose their abilities.
Yes.
We're all going to lose them. We don't know when we're going to lose them, but we're all going to have to say goodbye to each of the abilities we hold so dear.
Right.
My mom is 77 and I've been having these conversations with her. It was her right arm wasn't working a few years ago and she was so upset with it. And she ended up having a shoulder replacement and it was a very big thing. And now her knee isn't working and she can't walk anymore the way that she used to walk. And she's struggling to get around and maybe she needs a knee replacement. And I said, maybe this is preparing you that eventually you're going to have to let go of all of it. And she's like, stop it. I'm not dead yet. I'm like, I know. I said, I hope you have many healthy years.
Right. I'm not saying that.
But she just like I would too, clinging to a past when her body operated at how she wanted it to.
How she wanted it to. Yes.
And now it's not operating how she wants it to. And this is for me too, that I know there will be times when my body isn't going to operate the way that I wish that it
Yeah.
would. And
Or
we all
what
kind of
you used to.
have to come to
Yes.
grips with that. And
Right.
do you think that that there's anything we can do to prepare now, or should we be doing anything to prepare now for the fact that things are going to change and we are going to lose things that we hold dear?
That is a great question. What we can do now is self-compassion and self-love. If we can focus on accepting ourselves as we are now and offering ourselves self-compassion now, that will create a foundation for tomorrow, next week, next month, 10 years from now, whatever the timeline is. If it's us or if it's someone we love, like you're saying, your mom, if we already have that foundation of self-compassion and accepting we are who we are, that will give us a deeper foundation to accept the change. The change will still be very hard and difficult and emotionally and physically painful, yet having that foundation of just being comfortable in our own skin will give us that ability.
So you have leaned into gratitude so much.
Yes.
And I saw you quoted saying that, losing your sight actually helped you see more clearly. What are some ways that's true for you?
So it helped me, the gratitude specifically balanced with the grit is not being grateful for the blindness. So I don't wake up in the morning and say, I am so grateful that I can't see today. But what I do every single day is be grateful and become aware that I'm deeply thankful for what helps me navigate the initial change and what helps me navigate life every day now as I live every day as a person without sight in a sighted world. That gratitude helps me have that perspective, that mindset of what I was saying, the self-compassion, the self-love. So it just sets my mindset to gratitude based on what I do have rather than constantly focusing on what I don't have.
Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
One of my favorite books on losing ability is Michael J. Fox. He wrote a book called Always Looking Up. And in that, he said he actually, in that book, he said that Parkinson's is one of the best things that ever happened to him because he took everything for granted.
Yeah, right. 100%.
He said he took everything for granted, and then starting to lose some of his abilities, he finally woke up to how blessed he was to have the things that he still had. He still had a wife that loved him, that he loved, and he had a family that he really loved, and he started to actually appreciate life because he recognized that he'd been taking all of it for granted and had kind of been arrogant about all of it. And I think about myself too. I've had health arrogance. Like, oh, I'll just always be healthy.
Be healthy, right.
Yeah, and all the people I love will just always be here and alive and healthy. And, as I've gotten older, I've realized that's not true. And that health arrogance, you can learn some tough lessons.
Yes.
If you don't start to just say, I'm so grateful for the health I do have today. I'm so grateful for the human beings in my life today.
Yes.
Yeah. So do you feel like maybe the blindness helped you like have gratitude that maybe you wouldn't have even had before?
100%. Because again, the mindset of gratitude helps you become grateful for the small things every day. So we typically think of gratitude as those big, huge life moments that happen sometimes. And what I've learned gratitude is being grateful every day for those small moments. And that changes your whole perspective And it gives you that, for me, and again, the people I work with, developing this mindset creates a deeper calm, a deeper happiness, a deeper confidence within yourself. So it's not that I'm walking around every day, all day, with everything that happens, saying, "Oh, I'm so happy, I'm so grateful, I'm so thankful, I'm so happy, I appreciate you." That would be weird and exhausting. But
That would be exhausting.
and that'd be annoying. No one would want to be around me.
Yeah.
But what
Well,
I
I don't know.
do,
Maybe I would.
but what
I love grateful people.
But I don't know. That just exhausts me to death.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't be grateful because I was just saying it so much, right?
Right.
But what I do is just acknowledge I'm thankful for that great lunch. I'm thankful for that connection with a friend. I'm thankful
Yes.
for this, beautiful day, this wonderful spring day.
Mm.
So just acknowledging those for a split second in your mind completely reframes your mind to, again, that calm, that peace, that gratitude rather than the negative, rather than the victim, rather than the whatever our mindset, the world owes me because I can't see,
The
whatever.
world owes me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something that I found myself in for sure, that I'm owed
Yes.
different things.
Yes.
And what you've learned is that you're owed nothing. Like
Right.
every single thing is a gift.
Right.
It's
Right.
all gifted to us, and we
Right.
just need to say thank you. Thank you for the gifts that I have today. You
Right.
can still walk.
Right.
Not
Right.
everyone can still walk.
Right. Right.
And that's something to say thank you for. I can
Absolutely.
walk. That's amazing.
Absolutely.
And you're breathing in a healthy way. Not
Yeah,
everyone can breathe in a healthy way,
right.
right?
I'm
Like,
breathing on my own.
yes,
Literally.
yes, yeah. So one of the questions I had for you was, has this blindness opened anything spiritually? Have you increased any spiritual vision with this?
Absolutely. So again, as my first reaction is the denial, my first spiritual reaction was, well, if I'm just spiritual, then my vision will come back tomorrow, 2020. I'll just,
That'll give it to me.
Yeah, exactly. Like, okay, if I just, focus spiritually, I'm just going to magically wake up tomorrow with 2020 vision. And again, that's all denial. I mean, I knew that in my head, but I didn't want to admit it. Clearly that doesn't sound right. But once that denial changed into I can't, and then the I can't changed into I can, absolutely, that spiritual awareness I connected with so deeply, because what I experienced spiritually was I still matter. Like, I am still a beloved creation, even though I can't see. The fact that I can't see all of a sudden doesn't make me not worthy, not have gifts, not have purpose. So I connected very deeply with that spiritual connection of I still have value. I still have purpose. I still have gifts to give to the world. And that's a large part of the gratitude came into that. That was an incredible spiritual practice of being grateful and developing that life of gratitude gave me that spiritual perspective, that deeper connection, deeper than just a life is good. And this is the major lesson I learned. Life is good, so my spiritual practice is good. That's our mindset. When for me, for so many of us, when things go well, then our spiritual life is good, or our spiritual connection is good.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it was learning, even in the face of losing one of my major senses, I can still have a deep connection to spirit, and I am still enough, and the unconditional love that comes through spirit is still just as real and as powerful as if everything was going my way. So I learned that my spiritual practice is not based on my circumstances, is based on my connection with spirit.
So I have a belief that everything is happening for us.
Yes.
In even the challenges and adversities, and this is a major challenge and adversity that you have in your life. But the reason I believe it's happening for us and that it's all guided by love is that there are things that you can only learn by losing your sight.
Yes.
There are things you know that I don't know.
Right.
You've become stronger in ways that I can't become stronger.
Right.
What are some of the ways that you've become stronger, and what are some of the greatest lessons you've learned from this? And again, I think it's something that happens. It always, I think everything, even the good and the bad, is all happening for our ultimate good, our ultimate growth and learning. What are some of the things you've learned that have been the biggest ahas for you?
So the biggest spiritual ahas is just accepting and being comfortable in my own skin, that is enough. And that our life experiences all come together to be used again to that gratitude. And a very, very practical, real life example that I can give is, so I was a chaplain in the hospital, and in that time in the hospital, there were so many experiences, and I'll give one specific example, but this is not the only example. So I walked into a patient's room. My guide dog and I walked into the room. I acknowledged, I'm the chaplain on the unit. So, you have a referral to see a chaplain. So I'm here to visit you. And the first words out of her mouth, this patient just screamed at the top of her lungs that probably, I know the whole hall, probably the whole hospital could hear was, "Oh my gosh, you're blind." And my first thought was, well, yeah, when I woke up this morning and looked in the mirror, I didn't see anything back. So, yeah, you're right. So I just said, yes, I am. And my next thought was, oh gosh, that's an instant negative, right? Like, I might as well just turn and walk out of the room. That's a negative bad. She sees that as something wrong. And her next words were, okay, then you can come in and I'll open up to you. And I walked to her bed and just stood there. And she said, I will not talk to the doctors. I will not talk to the nurses. I will not talk to my family. I will not talk to the social worker, the psychologist. I will not open up to anyone, but I will open up to you because you're not physically judging me. And I stood there in silence because there I was to be the chaplain to her, and she was being the chaplain to me. I just took a deep breath and said, absolutely. I'm not here to judge you physically. Tell me anything, everything. I'm not judging you physically. And we had about a 20 or 30-minute conversation that day. And then that led to every day for the next 10, 14 days of me going and having a visit with her. And she would just open up to me completely because she felt safe, because she felt I'm not going to walk in that room and instantly judge her laying there in the hospital bed physically. She could share honestly about where she was emotionally. And again, she taught me so much because in that moment, I realized from that patient and that experience with so many other patients, yes, I don't like this. Yes, I wouldn't choose this. Yes, I would love to wake up tomorrow and have perfect 20/20 sight. And at the same time, there are gifts and a presence that I can bring that people with sight cannot bring.
What a beautiful story.
So that was an incredible moment for me where I was grateful for the gift of the insight. Because where I've been so focused on, I just have to overcome, I just have to be strong, I just have to be resilient. She gave me the gift that day of realizing maybe you can just be you.
Yeah.
Maybe you can just be happy and content, be comfortable in your own skin, and that's enough.
And then
That's all you need.
and look what you're doing for the world. So of course, what you did for that beautiful woman in the hospital, and how lovely that she opened up to you when she wouldn't open up to anyone. I
Yes.
mean, what a gift that you were able to be that for her.
Yes.
And but now look at what you're doing because
Right.
of the adversity. You're helping people go through adversity.
Yes.
You're giving
Right.
them the tools to walk through adversity. It's like I was reading Think and Grow Rich when I was
Yes.
25 years old.
Yeah.
And in that book, he says, in the seed of every adversity in every single adversity is a seed of opportunity. And he said, my son was born without ears. And I kept telling him, this will be your greatest opportunity. And I'm thinking, as I'm reading this, as a 25-year-old, how could being born without ears be an opportunity?
Right. Right.
Because Napoleon Hill had this belief that every adversity had a seed of opportunity. He ends up telling the story of his son growing older, and then ending up like being a huge advocate for a new form of hearing aid that gave hearing to people that would have never had it if he hadn't been in that position. And so he changed all these lives, and Napoleon Hill telling him your adversity will become an opportunity. His child just believed that was what was going to happen. And then it happened. And now here you are, you've got this giant adversity that you wouldn't wish for yourself.
Right.
And yet you're making the most of it and helping all these people that need you.
Right.
If you could go back to 9-year-old Lauren, to that sweet little girl that was in that room, what would you say to her?
You are enough, and take it day by day. And the reason I say that is my immediate denial was, I'm not enough unless I wake up tomorrow with 20/20 vision. As a teenager, of course, I didn't want to be different, right? Like I wanted to be just like all the other teenagers. So having the gift of knowing if I just have full sight, then I'm okay. Rather than having that gift of just knowing you who you are is okay. You who you are is enough. And then the second part of that is taking it day by day. But the other mindset, when I went into the whole perspective of I can't, that was because I was trying to figure out my whole future instantly. How am I going to navigate the world as a blind person? How am I going to do college? How am I going to do anything as a person without sight? And that overwhelmed me and emotionally shut me down. So having that gift of one, knowing I'm enough because I am who I am, and at the same time, just take it day by day, 9-year-old little girl, and it will all work out.
That got me a little emotional.
Yes.
It's so sweet. So to the person that is listening to this, that is facing a struggle that they don't know if they can do, what would you say to them?
First, acknowledge the struggle. Again, going back to I am enough. Trust yourself enough just to acknowledge this is really, really hard. Because again, going back to myself, a lot of that denial was, I was in denial because I didn't want to acknowledge how hard it really was. So the first step I would say is absolutely acknowledge the change, the struggle, the difficulty. Just give yourself the self-compassion to say, yeah, this is really, really hard. Anyone going through this in my specific situation would think this is hard. So acknowledge it is hard and then take it day by day, moment by moment. I mean, literally, there were so many days in those first couple of years that my family and I, we took it literally hour by hour by hour. And I'm not exaggerating. It was like, okay, how do we get up and just get to school on time? If we can do that, a goal will be reached today. So acknowledge the struggle. And then after you give yourself the space to acknowledge the struggle, take it in the small sections that you need to take it.
If there's someone out there that is going through a hard time and they need some help, is there any way they could get in touch with you? How could people learn more from you?
So the best place is my website, laurabratton.com. That's got all the information that's needed to get connected.
And we'll put that in the show notes too, so that people can connect with you. Laura, you're an inspiration to me and to the world. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for the opportunity just to share. Because again, going back to that 9-year-old girl, if she had had this podcast, it would have been helpful. So thank you for the opportunity.
Oh, no doubt. Could you imagine yourself when you're thinking, I can't, for you to be able to hear this episode?
Yes.
Like how powerful that would have been for you?
Absolutely. Literal game changer.
Yeah, you've been like, oh, okay, so I'm a total badass. All right. I got this.
No, not at all. I was like, okay, just get through geography and then you'll figure out what.
That was one of the most soul-enriching conversations we've had on Good Mood Revolution. I teared up imagining Laura putting her arm around 9-year-old little Laura, sitting in that ophthalmologist's office, just terrified. Here were my biggest takeaways from today's episode. Loss is inevitable, but it doesn't have to steal your joy. Even as Laura's vision faded, she found something deeper. She found gratitude, and she found self-acceptance that she had never had before. 2, gratitude isn't about loving the pain. It's about loving what's still there. You don't have to be thankful for the hard thing, but you can always find something to be thankful for within it. 3, support is your strength. When Laura couldn't hold herself up, she had people who reminded her of who she was. If you're going through something hard, find your people. Let them see the best in what you can't. 4, grit wears many faces. Sometimes grit is grinding. Other times it's whispering, saying, I'll just get breakfast today. I'll start there. Take it 1 hour at a time. And that is courage. And the last point, true vision isn't even physical. Laura reminds us your power, your purpose, and your worth, they're not tied to what you can do. They're tied to what you feel and what you believe and who you are on the inside. So here's my question for you to carry this week. What ability or comfort are you clinging to that might be keeping you from the growth on the other side if you were able to just let go? If that question hits you and if this episode moved you like it moved me, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we have conversations like this every single week. See you next week on Good Mood Revolution.